All right, buckle up, everybody. We're diving deep today, into some seriously interesting stuff.
Always up for a good deep dive.
This one, well, it comes from you guys, the listeners. You sent us this text, and it's titled, get this, if you see this video, you've entered creator mode.
Creator mode, huh? That's pretty bold.
Bold's an understatement, right?
Mm.
But, that's kind of what we love to unpack here. So what's at the heart of this? What jumps out, and what needs a little extra digging?
What strikes me right away, it's like it's tapping into this deep need we all have,
Yeah.
for control.
Yeah.
Like we want agency over our lives.
Yeah. Creator mode, almost like we finally get to call the shots, shape our own reality, like you said.
Exactly. But it also gets you thinking, right? Is this some switch we flip? Or is it like this gradual thing, this awakening?
I like that. Awakening. That's a good word for it. Because the text goes on to say you've been chosen.
Yeah, I saw that. Kind of makes you scratch your head a bit.
A bit. But, if we think about it metaphorically, what if we choose to see ourselves as the architects, right? The creators of our own lives.
That's a really interesting way to look at it. Like,
Yeah.
we've already been given everything we need, the tools, the resources. We just got to use them.
Exactly. No waiting for permission, no waiting to be chosen. We step into that role ourselves. And that actually connects perfectly to this whole idea of perception, which the text really hammers on.
Totally. It argues we get so stuck seeing limitations instead of possibilities. And this reminds me of a bunch of research in psychology.
Oh, yeah. Like what?
Well, like the whole growth mindset thing.
Yeah.
When we believe we can learn and adapt, challenges become, well, opportunities, not roadblocks.
Right, right. It's like that saying, what's an obstacle for some is a stepping stone for others. So creator mode is about shifting how we see the world.
You got it. It's like, instead of, why is this happening to me? It's more like, what can I learn from this?
Even like, how can I use this?
Exactly. And the text uses some pretty strong language to make this point. It literally says every challenge becomes a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And then you stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this teaching me? Powerful stuff.
Wow. It's like your brain does a complete 180. But is this just positive thinking then? Or is there something more going on?
It's deeper than just slapping on rose-colored glasses. It's actively looking for the opportunity in every challenge.
Okay, I'm with you. But sometimes, let's be real, some of these challenges, they feel impossible.
Oh, absolutely. And that's where I think this next idea comes in, the whole co-creating with the universe thing.
Yeah.
Now, this got me curious.
Me too. This is where things start to get a little woo-woo, right?
It can definitely be interpreted in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Some people might think spirituality, a higher power. Others might say it's about intention, setting goals, and taking action.
Yeah. And the text uses some pretty interesting language too, talking about the universe, whispering guidance. What's that even mean?
It's like, think of your intuition, that gut feeling that sometimes points you in the right direction. It's subtle, a little nudge, like, hey, pay attention to this.
Okay, so not like some booming voice from the sky, more like, we gotta really listen closely. But how do we know it's not just us, Like our own thoughts?
That's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And the text doesn't lay it all out, but it does point to noticing patterns, synchronicities, those times when things just click.
Oh, I've had those moments where it's like the universe is on my side, like bumping into the right person at the right time.
Exactly, like confirmation. But these whispers, they're subtle. We have to be open, trusting.
That brings us to another big theme, and I think this is a good place to pause and let our listeners take a breath. We're going to talk faith next, but not the religious kind, right?
Right, more like trusting the process, even when things are uncertain, like having the courage to take a leap.
I love that. A leap of faith. We'll be back after a quick break to explore that more, and we'll dig into some of the powerful language the text uses to describe it. Don't go anywhere.
So faith, big word, right?
Huge.
Great.
But like you said, not just about religion.
Right. It's more, how do I put it? Like trusting in something bigger than ourselves.
Even when we don't have all the answers.
Especially then. It's like that deep down knowing that things will work out, even if we can't see how right now.
Okay, I think I get that. But it's hard, isn't it, to have that kind of faith when life throws curveballs?
Oh, absolutely. Life's not a straight line, There's bumps, detours, the whole works. But this text, it reminds us that challenges, they're a part of the journey.
They're not a sign we're doing something wrong.
Nope. In fact, they're often like the push we need, to grow, to learn, to become more than we were before. Remember that video game analogy we talked about?
Yeah, the one about those tough levels being like tests.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They're designed to push our buttons, make us think outside the box, and ultimately help us level up.
Okay, so challenges are like opportunities in disguise.
You got it. And faith, it's like that extra boost of courage we need, to keep going when things get tough, to trust that we're being guided even when we can't see the whole map.
That's a really nice way to put it. It's like having faith is like having a compass when we're lost in the woods. It doesn't show us the whole path, but it points us in the right direction.
Perfect analogy.
Hmm.
And speaking of guidance, let's circle back to this whole thing about connecting with silent forces. That really piqued my curiosity.
Yeah, me too. It sounds a bit mystical, right? Like, are we talking about guardian angels or something?
It's definitely open to interpretation, but I think the text is pointing to those moments of intuition, those gut feelings that seem to come out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Like when you just know something, but you can't explain why.
Exactly. And the text suggests that these aren't just random occurrences, but subtle nudges from the universe, guiding us toward our true path.
Okay, that's interesting. But how do we know if it's really intuition or just our own thoughts and desires? Sometimes it's hard to tell the difference.
That's a great point. And the text suggests paying attention to signs and synchronicities. Those moments when things seem to align perfectly, as if by magic.
Like when you're thinking about someone and then they call you out of the blue.
Exactly. Or when you're struggling with a problem, and then the perfect solution just pops into your head.
I've had those moments, but I always thought they were just coincidences. Is the text saying that there's actually some unseen force orchestrating these things?
It's certainly suggesting that there's more to it than meets the eye. It's like the universe is trying to communicate with us through these meaningful coincidences.
I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So let's say I'm thinking about changing careers, and then I randomly run into an old friend who works in that field. Is that a sign?
It could be. But the text also emphasizes the importance of developing a strong connection with our intuition.
You mean that inner voice that tells us what feels right?
Exactly. It's about trusting our gut instincts, even if we can't logically explain them.
Okay, so it's a combination of paying attention to external cues and trusting our internal guidance system. But what if our intuition is telling us one thing and our logic is screaming something completely different? How do we know which one to follow?
That's a tough one. And honestly, there's no easy answer. It's about discernment, I guess. Weighing the pros and cons, sitting with those conflicting feelings, and ultimately making a choice.
It sounds like it takes practice, like learning to tune in to that inner voice and trust that it knows what's best for us.
Absolutely. And that's where the text brings up this idea of cultivating stillness, creating space for those whispers of intuition to come through.
So like meditation, spending time in nature, unplugging from all the noise and distractions of daily life.
Exactly. It's about giving ourselves permission to slow down, breathe, and just be.
I love that, creating space for stillness. But what if we create that space and we still feel lost or uncertain? The text says that doubt is a big enemy. Why is that?
Doubt can be really sneaky. It can creep in and make us question everything, even our own intuition.
Yeah, like a little voice saying, you're not good enough, or this will never work.
Exactly. And when we start doubting ourselves, we disconnect from that inner knowing, that sense of possibility.
So doubt is like an energy drain. It saps our creative power.
Exactly. It's like a virus that infects our creator mode operating system.
So how do we fight it? How do we overcome doubt when it shows up?
The text says that faith is the antidote.
So we come full circle.
Right. It's about trusting the process, even when things feel uncertain. It's about believing in ourselves and in something bigger than ourselves.
This is all so deep, and I feel like we're just scratching the surface. But I think it's time to bring it back to something a little more concrete. Let's talk about manifestation.
Ah, yes, manifestation. The word on everyone's lips these days. But what does it really mean? And how do we actually make it work?
I think that's what a lot of our listeners are wondering. The text makes it sound so simple, but in reality, it can feel really challenging.
It definitely is. And I think one of the biggest misconceptions is that manifestation is about following a set of rules and then magically getting what we want.
Right, like it's some kind of cosmic vending machine. You put in your order and boom, it appears.
Exactly. But it's much more nuanced than that. The text emphasizes that it's about aligning our energy with our desires. It's about becoming a vibrational match for what we want to attract.
Okay, I've heard that before, but what does that actually mean?
Think of it like this. Everything in the universe is made up of energy vibrating at different frequencies. Our thoughts, emotions, beliefs, they all have a vibrational frequency too. And the law of attraction suggests that like attracts like.
So if I'm constantly focusing on negative things, am I actually attracting more negativity into my life?
It's definitely possible. The universe is like a giant mirror reflecting back to us what we're putting out.
Whoa, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So if we want to manifest positive things, we need to cultivate positive feelings within ourselves first.
Exactly. And this is where practices like gratitude, visualization, and affirmations come in.
Okay, I'm starting to get the picture, but I think there's still so much more to explore here. Before we dive into specific manifestation techniques, I want to pause and give our listeners a chance to reflect. What are your thoughts so far? What resonates with you? What questions are coming up?
You know, it's interesting. We've been talking about creator mode, like it's this individual thing, right? But what if it's bigger than that?
Bigger how?
Well, the text mentions this idea of co-creation. Like, we're not just shaping our own little realities, but we're all contributing to something much larger.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like we're all part of this giant collective tapestry.
Exactly. And the way we choose to create our own lives actually influences the whole picture.
So if we're all doom and gloom, that kind of brings everyone down?
It's possible.
Right.
Remember, the universe is like a mirror, reflecting back what we put out.
Right, right. But then that means if we're focused on good things, positive vibes, that adds to it too, right?
Exactly. It's about recognizing that we're all connected,
Yeah.
and our creations have this ripple effect.
So it's not just about getting what we want. It's about contributing to a world we actually want to live in.
100%. A world that's more loving, more compassionate, more sustainable.
This is making me think about that whole raising the collective consciousness thing. Is that what we're talking about?
I think it's definitely related. When we choose to embody higher vibrations, it creates a shift, a positive shift.
So like meditating for world peace isn't enough.
It's a great start,
Mm-hmm.
but it's also about walking the walk, you know? Being peaceful in our own lives, in our relationships, in our everyday choices.
So it's like every little thing we do matters.
I think so. Every act of creation, no matter how small, contributes to that collective tapestry.
This has been, wow, a lot to process.
Yeah.
But it's so inspiring too, right? To think that we each have this power to create something amazing.
Absolutely. But it also comes with responsibility, doesn't it?
Oh, yeah, big time, to use that power wisely.
To choose thoughts, words, and actions that uplift, that inspire, that make the world a better place.
Well said. And on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. But before we go, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought.
Ooh, I like where this is going.
If we really are all co-creating this reality together, what kind of world do we want to create?
What kind of future are we building? What legacy are we leaving behind?
It's a big question, and I don't think there's one right answer, but it's a question worth asking ourselves every single day.
And it starts with each of us, right here,
Hmm.
right now. Choosing kindness, choosing compassion, choosing hope,
Believing in our own power to make a difference, even if it's just a small one.
and trusting that all those small differences add up to something truly extraordinary.
So go out there, embrace your creator mode, and let's build something beautiful together. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time.